The United Arab Emirates, or simply the Emirates, is a country in West Asia in the Middle East, at the eastern end of the Arabian Peninsula. It is a federal, elective monarchy composed of 7 emirates, with Abu Dhabi as its capital. It shares land borders with Oman to the east and northeast, and with Saudi Arabia to the southwest, as well as maritime borders in the Persian Gulf with Qatar and Iran, and with Oman in the Gulf of Oman. As of 2024, the UAE has an estimated population of over 10 million, of which 11% are Emiratis. Dubai is the most populous city and is an international hub. Islam is the official religion and Arabic is the official language, while English is the most spoken language and the language of business. The United Arab Emirates oil and natural gas reserves are the world's 7th and 7th largest, respectively. Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, ruler of Abu Dhabi and the country's first president, oversaw the development of the Emirates by investing oil revenues into healthcare, education, and infrastructure. The country has the most diversified economy among the members of the Gulf Cooperation Council. In the 21st century, the UAE has become less reliant on oil and gas and is economically focusing on tourism and business. The UAE is considered a middle power. It is also a member of the United Nations, Arab League, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OPEC, Non-Aligned Movement, World Trade Organization, and BRICS. The UAE is also a dialogue partner of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. History. Stone tools recovered reveal a settlement of people from Africa 127,000 years ago. A stone tool used for butchering animals discovered on the Arabian coast suggests an even older habitation from 130,000 years ago. In time, lively trading links developed with civilizations in Mesopotamia, Iran, and the Harappan culture of the Indus Valley. This contact persisted and became wider, probably motivated by the trade in copper from the Hajar Mountains, which commenced around 3000 BCE. Sumerian sources talk of the Magan civilization, which has been identified as encompassing the modern UAE and Oman. Islam. The spread of Islam to the northeastern tip of the Arabian Peninsula is thought to have followed directly from a letter sent by the Islamic prophet Muhammad to the rulers of Oman in 630 CE. This led to a group of rulers traveling to Medina, converting to Islam and subsequently driving a successful uprising against the unpopular Sassanids, who dominated the coast at the time. Following the death of Muhammad, the new Islamic communities south of the Persian Gulf threatened to disintegrate, with insurrections against the Muslim leaders. Caliph Abu Bakr sent an army from the capital Medina, which completed its reconquest of the territory, the Ridda Wars, with the Battle of Dibba, in which 10,000 lives are thought to have been lost. This assured the integrity of the caliphate and the unification of the Arabian Peninsula under the newly emerging Rashidun Caliphate. In 637, Julfa, in the area of today's Ras Al Khaimah, was an important port that was used as a staging post for the Islamic invasion of the Sasanian Empire. The area of the Al-Ain Barami oasis was known as Tuam and was an important trading post for camel routes between the coast and the Arabian interior. The earliest Christian site in the UAE was first discovered in the 1990s, an extensive monastic complex on what is now known as Sobani Yas Island and which dates back to the 7th century. Thought to be Nestorian and built in 600 CE, the church appears to have been abandoned peacefully in 750 CE. It forms a rare physical link to a legacy of Christianity, which is thought to have spread across the peninsula from 50 to 350 CE following trade routes. Certainly, by the 5th century, Oman had a bishop named John, the last bishop of Oman being at En, in 676 CE. Portuguese era. With the expansion of European colonial empires, Portuguese, English and Dutch forces appeared in the Persian Gulf region. By the 18th century, the Bani Yas Confederation was the dominant force in most of the area now known as Abu Dhabi, while the northern Al-Qawasim, Al-Qasimi, dominated maritime commerce. The Portuguese maintained an influence over the coastal settlements, building forts in the wake of the bloody 16th century conquests of coastal communities by Albuquerque and the Portuguese commanders who followed him, particularly on the east coast at Muscat, Zohar and Khor Fakkan. The southern coast of the Persian Gulf was known to the British as the Pirate Coast, as boats of the Al-Qawasim Federation harassed British-flagged shipping from the 17th century into the 19th. The charge of piracy is disputed by modern Emirati historians, including the current ruler of Sharjah, Sheikh Sultan Al-Qasimi, in his 1986 book The Myth of Arab Piracy in the Gulf. British era and discovery of oil. During the 19th and early 20th centuries, the pearling industry thrived, providing both income and employment to the people of the Persian Gulf. The First World War had a severe impact on the industry, but it was the economic depression of the late 1920s and early 1930s, coupled with the invention of the cultured pearl, that wiped out the trade. The remnants of the trade eventually faded away shortly after the Second World War, when the newly independent government of India imposed heavy taxation on imported pearls. The decline of pearling resulted in extreme economic hardship in the Trucial states. In 1922, the British government secured undertakings from the rulers of the Trucial states not to sign concessions with foreign companies without their consent. Aware of the potential for the development of natural resources such as oil, following finds in Persia from 1908 and Mesopotamia from 1927, a British-led oil company, the Iraq Petroleum Company, showed an interest in the region. The Anglo-Persian Oil Company, later become British Petroleum, had a 23.75% share in IPC. From 1935, onshore concessions to explore for oil were granted by local rulers, with APOC signing the first one on behalf of Petroleum Concessions Limited, an associate company of IPC. APOC was prevented from developing the region alone because of the restrictions of the Red Line Agreement, which required it to operate through IPC. A number of options between PCL and the Trucial rulers were signed, providing useful revenue for communities experiencing poverty following the collapse of the pearl trade. However, the wealth of oil which the rulers could see from the revenues accruing to surrounding countries remained elusive. The first boreholes in Abu Dhabi were drilled by IPC's operating company, Petroleum Development, Trucial Coast, Limited at Ras Sadr in 1950, with 4,000-meter borehole taking a year to drill and turning out dry, at the tremendous cost at the time of £1 million. The British set up a development office that helped in small developments in the Emirates. The 7 Sheikhs of the Emirates decided to form a council to coordinate matters between them and took over the development office. In 1952, they formed Trucial States Council and appointed Adi al-Baitor, Dubai's Sheikh Rashid bin Zayed Al Maktoum's legal advisor, as Secretary General and legal advisor to the council. The council was terminated once the United Arab Emirates was formed. The tribal nature of society and the lack of definition of borders between emirates frequently led to disputes, settled either through mediation or, more rarely, force. The Trucial Oman Scouts was a small military force used by the British to keep the peace. Independence. By 1966, it had become clear the British government could no longer afford to administer and protect the Trucial states, what is now the United Arab Emirates. British members of Parliament debated the preparedness of the Royal Navy to defend the Sheikdoms. On the 24th of January 1968, British Prime Minister Harold Wilson announced the government's decision, reaffirmed in March 1971 by Prime Minister Edward Heath, to end the treaty relationships with the 7 Trucial Sheikdoms. Days after the announcement, the ruler of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, fearing vulnerability, tried to persuade the British to honour the protection treaties by offering to pay the full costs of keeping the British armed forces in the Emirates. The British Labour government rejected the offer. After Labour MP Goranwi Roberts informed Sheikh Zayed of the news of British withdrawal, the 9 Persian Gulf Sheikdoms attempted to form a union of Arab Emirates. But by mid-1971, they were still unable to agree on terms of union even though the British treaty relationship was to expire in December of that year. Fears of vulnerability were realized the day before independence. An Iranian destroyer group broke formation from an exercise in the lower Gulf, sailing to the Tunb Islands. The islands were taken by force, civilians and Arab defenders alike allowed to flee. A British warship stood idle during the course of the invasion. A destroyer group approached the island of Abu Musa as well. Sheikh Khalid bin Mohammed al-Qasimi had negotiated with the Iranian Shah and the island was quickly leased to Iran for $3 million a year. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia laid claim to swathes of Abu Dhabi. Originally intended to be part of the proposed Federation of Arab Emirates, Bahrain became independent in August, and Qatar in September 1971. When the British Trucial Sheikdoms Treaty expired on the 1st of December 1971, both Emirates became fully independent. On the 2nd of December 1971, 6 of the Emirates, Abu Dhabi, Ajman, Dubai, Fujairah, Sharjah and Al Quwain, agreed to enter into a union named the United Arab Emirates. Ras Al Khaimah joined later, on the 10th of January 1972. In February 1972, the Federal National Council was created. It was a 40-member consultative body appointed by the 7 rulers. The UAE joined the Arab League on the 6th of December 1971 and the United Nations on the 9th of December. It was a founding member of the Gulf Cooperation Council in May 1981, with Abu Dhabi hosting the first GCC summit. Post-independence period. The UAE supported military operations by the US and other coalition states engaged in the war against the Taliban in Afghanistan, 2001, and Saddam Hussein in Ba'athist Iraq, 2003, as well as operations supporting the global war on terror for the Horn of Africa at Al Dhafra Air Base located outside of Abu Dhabi. The air base also supported Allied operations during the 1991 Persian Gulf War and Operation Northern Watch. The country had already signed a military defense agreement with the US in 1994 and one with France in 1995. In January 2008, France and the UAE signed a deal allowing France to set up a permanent military base in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi. The UAE joined international military operations in Libya in March 2011. On the 29th of August 2020, the UAE established normal diplomatic relations with Israel, and with the help of the United States, they signed the Abraham Accords with Bahrain. On the 9th of February 2021, the UAE achieved a historic milestone when its probe, named Hope, successfully reached Mars's orbit. The UAE became the first country in the Arab world to reach Mars, the 5th country to successfully reach Mars, and the 2nd country, after an Indian probe, to orbit Mars on its maiden attempt. Geography. The United Arab Emirates is situated in the Middle East, bordering the Gulf of Oman and the Persian Gulf. Between Oman and Saudi Arabia, it is in a strategic location slightly south of the Strait of Hormuz, a vital transit point for world crude oil. The UAE lies between 22 degrees 30 minutes and 26 degrees 10 minutes north latitude and between 51 degrees and 56 degrees 25 minutes east longitude. It shares a 530-kilometer border with Saudi Arabia on the west, south, and southeast, and a 450-kilometer border with Oman on the southeast and northeast. The land border with Qatar in the Khor Al Adaid area is about 19 kilometers in the northwest. However, it is a source of ongoing dispute. Following Britain's military departure from the UAE in 1971, and its establishment as a new state, the UAE laid claim to Iranian-occupied islands of Abu Musa and the Greater and the Lesser Tons, when Iran captured them during the British rule, resulting in disputes with Iran that remain unresolved. The UAE also disputes claim on other islands against the neighboring state of Qatar. The largest emirate, Abu Dhabi, accounts for 87% of the UAE's total area, 67,340 square kilometers. The smallest emirate, Ajman, encompasses only 259 kilometers square. The UAE coast stretches for nearly 650 kilometers along the southern shore of the Persian Gulf, briefly interrupted by an isolated outcrop of the Sultanate of Oman. 6 of the emirates are situated along the Persian Gulf, and the 7th, Fujairah, is on the eastern coast of the peninsula with direct access to the Gulf of Oman. 88. Most of the coast consists of salt pans that extend 8 to 10 kilometers inland. The largest natural harbor is at Dubai, although other ports have been dredged at Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, and elsewhere. Numerous islands are found in the Persian Gulf, and the ownership of some of them has been the subject of international disputes with both Iran and Qatar. The smaller islands, as well as many coral reefs and shifting sandbars, are a menace to navigation. Strong tides and occasional windstorms further complicate ship movements near the shore. The UAE also has a stretch of the Al Bina coast of the Gulf of Oman. The Muzandam Peninsula, the very tip of Arabia by the Strait of Hormuz, and Madha are exclaves of Oman separated by the UAE. South and west of Abu Dhabi, vast, rolling sand dunes merge into the Rub al Khali, empty quarter, of Saudi Arabia. The desert area of Abu Dhabi includes 2 important oases with adequate underground water for permanent settlements and cultivation. The extensive Liwa Oasis is in the south near the undefined border with Saudi Arabia. About 100 kilometers to the northeast of Liwa is the Al Buraimi Oasis, which extends on both sides of the Abu Dhabi-Oman border. Lake Zakha in Al Ain is a human-made lake near the border with Oman that was created from treated wastewater. Biodiversity. The UAE contains the following terrestrial ecoregions: Al-Hajj montane woodlands and shrublands, Gulf of Oman desert and semi-desert, and Al-Hajj foothills arid woodlands and shrublands. The oases grow date palms, acacia and eucalyptus trees. In the desert, the flora is very sparse and consists of grasses and thorn bushes. The indigenous fauna had come close to extinction because of intensive hunting, which has led to a conservation program on Sir Bani Yas Island initiated by Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan in the 1970s, resulting in the survival of Arabian oryx, Arabian camel and leopards. Coastal fish and mammals consist mainly of mackerel, perch and tuna, as well as sharks and whales. Tourism acts as a growth sector for the entire UAE economy. Dubai is the top tourism destination in the Middle East. According to the annual MasterCard Global Destination Cities Index, Dubai is the 5th most popular tourism destination in the world. Dubai holds up to 66% share of the UAE's tourism economy, with Abu Dhabi having 16% and Sharjah 10%. Dubai welcomed 10 million tourists in 2013. The UAE has the most advanced and developed infrastructure in the region. Since the 1980s, the UAE has been spending billions of dollars on infrastructure. These developments are particularly evident in the larger Emirates of Abu Dhabi and Dubai. The Northern Emirates are rapidly following suit, providing major incentives for developers of residential and commercial property. The inbound tourism expenditure in the UAE for 2019 accounted for 118.6% share of the outbound tourism expenditure. Since the 6th of January 2020, tourist visas to the United Arab Emirates are valid for 5 years. It has been projected that the travel and tourism industry will contribute about 280.6 billion United Arab Emirati dirham to the UAE's GDP by 2028. The country's major tourist attraction includes the famous Burj Khalifa in Dubai, the tallest tower in the world. The World Archipelago and Palm Jumeirah also in Dubai. Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque and Yas Marina Circuit in Abu Dhabi. Al-Hajj Mountains in Fujairah. The uniqueness of the country's natural desert life, especially with the Bedouins, also facilitates the country's tourist industry. Transportation. Dubai International Airport became the busiest airport in the world by international passenger traffic in 2014, overtaking London Heathrow. Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Sharjah, Ajman, Al Quwain, and Ras Al Khaimah are connected by the E11 highway, which is the longest road in the UAE. In Dubai, in addition to the Dubai Metro, the Dubai Tram and Palm Jumeirah monorail also connect specific parts of the city. There is also a bus, taxi, Abra, traditional boat, and water taxi network run by RTA. T1, a double-decker tram system in downtown Dubai, were operational from 2015 to 2019. A 1,200 kilometers countrywide railway is under construction, which will connect all the major cities and ports. The Dubai Metro is the first urban train network in the Arabian Peninsula. The major ports of the United Arab Emirates are Khalifa Port, Zayed Port, Port Jebel Ali, Port Rashid, Port Khalid, Port Said, and Port Khor Fakkan. The Emirates are increasingly developing their logistics and ports in order to participate in trade between Europe and China or Africa. For this purpose, ports are being rapidly expanded and investments are being made in their technology. The Emirates have historically been and currently still are part of the maritime Silk Road that runs from the Chinese coast to the south via the southern tip of India to Mombasa, from there through the Red Sea via the Suez Canal to the Mediterranean, there to the upper Adriatic region and the northern Italian hub of Trieste with its rail connections to Central Europe, Eastern Europe and the North Sea. Demographics. Immigrants accounted for 88.52%, while Emiratis made up the remaining 11.48%. This unique imbalance is due to the country's exceptionally high net migration rate of 21.71, the world's highest. UAE citizenship is very difficult to obtain other than by filiation and only granted under very special circumstances. The UAE is ethnically diverse. The 5 most populous nationalities in the Emirates of Dubai, Sharjah, and Ajman are Indian, 25%, Pakistani, 12%, Emirati, 9%, Bangladeshi, 7%, and Filipino, 5%. Immigrants from Europe, Australia, North America make up 500,000 of the population. 250,000 British nationals live in the country. The rest of the population are from other Arab states. About 88% of the population of the United Arab Emirates is urban. The average life expectancy was 76.7 in 2012, higher than for any other Arab country. With a male-female sex ratio of 2.2 males for each female in the total population and 2.75 to 1 for the 15 to 65 age group, the UAE's gender imbalance is second highest in the world after Qatar. Religion. Islam is the largest and the official state religion of the United Arab Emirates. The government follows a policy of tolerance toward other religions and rarely interferes in the religious activities of non-Muslims. There are more Sunni than Shia Muslims in the United Arab Emirates, and 85% of the Emirati population are Sunni Muslims. The vast majority of the remainder 15% are Shia Muslims, who are concentrated in the Emirates of Dubai and Sharjah. Although no official statistics are available for the breakdown between Sunni and Shia Muslims among non-citizen residents, media estimates suggest less than 20% of the non-citizen Muslim population are Shia. The Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi is the largest mosque in the country and a major tourist attraction. Ibadi is common among Omanis in the UAE, while Sufi influences exist as well. Christians account for 9% of the total population of the United Arab Emirates, according to the 2005 census. Estimates in 2010 suggested a figure of 12.6%. Roman Catholics and Protestants form significant proportions of the Christian minority. The country has over 52 churches in 2023. Many Christians in the United Arab Emirates are of Asian, African, and European origin, along with fellow Middle Eastern countries such as Lebanon, Syria, and Egypt. The United Arab Emirates forms part of the Apostolic Vicariate of Southern Arabia, and the Vicar Apostolic Bishop Paul Hinder is based in Abu Dhabi. There is a small Jewish community in the United Arab Emirates. Before 2023, there was only one known synagogue in Dubai, which has been open since 2008, and the synagogue also welcomes visitors. Another synagogue, Moses Ben Maimon Synagogue, was completed in 2023 as part of the Abrahamic Family House complex in Abu Dhabi. As of 2019, according to Rabbi Mark Schneer of the Foundation for Ethnic Understanding, it is estimated that there are about 150 families to 3,000 Jews who live and worship freely in the UAE. South Asians in the United Arab Emirates constitute the largest ethnic group in the country. Over 2 million Indian migrants, mostly from the southern states of Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, coastal Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu, are estimated to be living in the UAE. There are currently 3 Hindu temples in the country. Other religions also exist in the United Arab Emirates, including Jainism, Sikhism, Buddhism, Judaism, Baha'is, and Druze. The UAE Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Abdullah bin Zayed, announced in 2019 the design and construction plan of the Abrahamic Family House, which will serve as an interfaith complex that houses a synagogue, mosque, and a church on Saadiyat Island in Abu Dhabi. Culture. Emirati culture is based on Arabian culture and has been influenced by the cultures of Persia, India, and East Africa. Arabian and Arabian-inspired architecture is part of the expression of the local Emirati identity. Arabian influence on Emirati culture is noticeably visible in traditional Emirati architecture and folk arts. For example, the distinctive wind tower that tops traditional Emirati buildings, the Burj, has become an identifying mark of Emirati architecture and is attributed to Arabian influence. This influence is derived both from traders who fled the tax regime in Persia in the early 19th century and from Emirati ownership of ports on the Arabian coast, for instance the Al Qasimi port of Linga. The United Arab Emirates has a diverse society. Dubai's economy depends more on international trade and tourism, and is more open to visitors, while Abu Dhabi's society is more domestic as the city's economy is focused on fossil fuel extraction. Major holidays in the United Arab Emirates include Eid al-Fitr, which marks the end of Ramadan, and National Day, the 2nd of December, which marks the formation of the United Arab Emirates. Emirati males prefer to wear a kandura, an ankle-length white tunic woven from wool or cotton, and Emirati women wear an abaya, a black overgarment that covers most parts of the body. The earliest known poet in the UAE is Ibn Majid, born between 1432 and 1437 in Ras Al Khaimah. The most famous Emirati writers were Mubarak al-Okaili, 1880 to 1954, Salem bin Ali al-Owais, 1887 to 1959, and Ahmed bin Sulaim, 1905 to 976. Three other poets from Sharjah, known as the Hira group, are observed to have been heavily influenced by the Apollo and Romantic poets. The Sharjah International Book Fair is the oldest and largest in the country. The list of museums in the United Arab Emirates includes some of regional repute, most famously Sharjah with its heritage district containing 17 museums, which in 1998 was the cultural capital of the Arab world. In Dubai, the area of Al Quoz has attracted a number of art galleries as well as museums such as the Salsali Private Museum. Abu Dhabi has established a culture district on Saadiyat Island. 6 grand projects are planned, including the Guggenheim Abu Dhabi and the Louvre Abu Dhabi. Dubai also plans to build a Kunsthal museum and a district for galleries and artists. Emirati culture is a part of the culture of Eastern Arabia. Liwa is a type of music and dance performed locally, mainly in communities that contain descendants of Bantu peoples from the African Great Lakes region. The Dubai Desert Rock Festival is also another major festival consisting of heavy metal and rock artists. The cinema of the United Arab Emirates is minimal but expanding. Cuisine. The traditional food of the Emirates has always been rice, fish, and meat. The people of the United Arab Emirates have adopted most of their foods from other West and South Asian countries including Iran, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Pakistan, and India. Seafood has been the mainstay of the Emirati diet for centuries. Meat and rice are other staple foods, with lamb and mutton preferred to goat and beef. Popular beverages are coffee and tea, which can be complemented with cardamom or saffron to give them a distinctive flavor. Popular cultural Emirati dishes include threed, makbuz, kubisa, khamir and shabab bread among others, while lugaimat is a famous Emirati dessert. With the influence of Western culture, fast food has become very popular among young people, to the extent that campaigns have been held to highlight the dangers of fast food excesses. Alcohol is allowed to be served only in hotel restaurants and bars. All nightclubs are permitted to sell alcohol. Specific supermarkets may sell alcohol, but these products are sold in separate sections. Likewise, pork, which is haram, not permitted for Muslims, is sold in separate sections in all major supermarkets. Although alcohol may be consumed, it is illegal to be intoxicated in public or drive a motor vehicle with any trace of alcohol in the blood.